Hey guys, and welcome back to What the Bow. I'm your host, Richard,
And I'm Kristen.
and tonight we're going to be talking about an interesting conversation about school.
Yeah, and
And
who we had it with.
it,
Ooh.
I know, right? This is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So we got to meet with. I don't think we can say the name. I don't know. Should we say the name? I don't-
We got to meet with a particular
YouTube
person
celebrity.
of influence, I guess
Yes,
you could say.
I like that. That's a good way of saying it. And
Just in case we're not allowed to say who.
yeah, just right.
Keep
Like,
it on the DL.
some D-Lo, yeah. Um, and we were able to talk to him about uh, using an application for teachers in education and in
Well, not
schools.
necessarily education, but a networking for teachers alone.
Right? Yeah. You're right. Right. And it's a tool of networking for teachers, and I think it was pretty cool. I think he had the right insight for it, and
He did. He was very passionate about it, which
he
is the first
was.
step towards, anything, you know?
I mean, anything. You have to be passionate if you to fulfill a dream, to get to that dream, you need to be passionate about it. I mean, like, just like the same thing as teaching. If you're not passionate about teaching, then
What are you doing it for?
why are you doing it for?
You're
Obviously,
not doing it for the money.
right? You're not doing it for the money.
You know, my teachers used to always say that, and now I understand. I get it now.
But no, okay. So let's start at the beginning. Well, let's talk about our classrooms first off. I want to start with this episode about what's
Set
going.
the scene.
Yeah, let's set the situation right now. What's going on um with us so far? Because the last time we were talking about what the heck were we talking about last episode? I don't even remember what we were talking about last episode.
Disney.
Disney? Maybe it was about Disney. Yeah, it was about Disney.
I think that was the one about Disney.
Yeah. So let's recap. Let's see what's going on with us. This past few days. Educationally, what's going on?
Yeah, we've been teaching for, let's see, August. So August, September, October, November, December. So we're in our 4th month of school for this year, and it's actually gone by a lot faster than I thought it would. But at the same time, it's just kind of dragging because of just everything. And I don't know if there's any other way to put that. It's just everything. I don't know.
No, and I agree with you. It has been everything. And if someone's to ask us what is the definition of everything, it's the weather,
It's the weather, the students,
the traffic.
the waking up on time, the going to bed on time,
Oh my gosh,
the
it's tough.
the workload,
And
everything.
yeah,
That's the only way you can encompass it, is just saying everything.
everything. One of the biggest, I think one of the biggest issues this year, and credit goes to my friend who said these words to me earlier this year, was that love first, teach second. And I could not think of a better way of saying that about this year. I mean, a lot of the students that are coming up to us to middle school, I think that's what many of us teachers are forgetting, and that is what is care.
It's building a relationship
But
with your student where you can have that mutual respect for each other.
Okay, but what does that mean though? Because to some teachers, they don't understand that. What is building a relationship then? Hearing them? I hear you now. What is that?
You're not hearing me. Well, okay, yes, you're hearing me, but remember,
Physically.
there's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is I know there's sound. Listening is processing the sound.
Okay, so then so how am I gonna process that sound? I mean, I have enough problems myself. Like I said, I have 152 other kids. But how am I gonna listen to you?
But it's
Why?
the point that the profession is that you were supposed to treat each individual student as just that, an individual.
As an individual, but as an individual butterfly. not an individual,
No, not
special, unique
necessarily,
thing.
but they are individuals. I mean, not everybody is going to have the same problems. Not everybody is going to have the same advantages and disadvantages.
And you're right.
But each student comes from their own individual, unique background.
Right, but
Whether it's
and I
75%
hear you.
of the students that come from poverty, I mean, there's different levels of poverty. The 25 other percent that come from a middle class to a high class, there's different levels of middle class and high class.
So what am I gonna do? What's my solution? I can hear you, but I'm not gonna. What's my solution then?
To listen.
I can give you.
need
I can
to
give.
understand.
So what? What do you say? You say listen, but what is listening?
But that's just what it is. It's processing the sound. So you need to process how to understand each student on their individual level. I'm not saying that you have to know everybody's auntie and uncle and cousin by name, and know everybody's middle name and what year and day and month they were born. But it's the fact that you should have some sort of understanding of A, where this kid is coming from, educationally and personally, B, where you believe this kid is going, educationally and personally. And not everybody is going to be 100% successful. Not everybody is going to get that A or that B or even that C. I mean, there's people that just don't agree with school, and it's not because they choose that outlook. It's the fact that these students sit there and they have always constantly been told either you're a failure, you're never going to amount to anything. That's oftentimes what my brothers were told.
That's the time I was told. I mean, being a person of English as a second language,
it's very difficult to find that happy medium that works for every student at once. It never
there is no happy medium.
will happen.
No, and okay. So before my listeners are like, oh my God, why is he such a dick? No, I hope Kristen's would vouch for me for here. That's not at all my personality. But there are people who just have that personality.
Yeah, but they feel like it's a job. It's not. It's not the nurturing environment. It's just, this is what I was asked to do.
And I think that's where we forget it. I think that's what many people forget. That okay, from my perspective, teaching is a job, but it's not like a job. I'm not
It's
sitting
not
there.
clerical work. It's not a cubicle job. It's something.
I'm
where
not
you
flipping
have
burgers.
to
It's
put-
an emotional job.
right. You have to put
It's an
your heart
emotional
and
job.
soul into it rather than just doing the robotic over and
Over
over,
and
day
over,
in, day out stuff.
And that's and it's unfortunately it has come to that where it's starting to become a feeling where we're going in to act as a robotic person, and which I want to kind of segue into one of the questions that our interviewee, right? Interviewee, my bad. Our interviewer asked us, what is the problem teachers are facing today? And I from my perspective, I said it is the lack of support from it's better this year, but I think the lack of support from parents, but I don't blame them. Don't take me wrong, I don't blame the parents for this one, because we were in a moment of crisis, and well, survival of the fittest, basically. We need to survive. We need to do things to survive. And parents kind of not looked at the teachers and more looking more like, well, isn't your job to take care of my kid?
I think that's also why they bring up that notion of teachers being glorified babysitters.
Right, and I think those people who are doing that I agree. I think they need to sit in the classroom. They need to be in a position where we are and see the reflection of how other people's children.
Well, it's firsthand experience.
It's firsthand experience, and see how it is.
The hearsay that they have coming home.
No, I'm not coming home, but I'm not complaining.
No, but it's a fact of the matter.
I hope people who are listening to are not saying that I'm complaining. I'm not. I'm just saying that the fact is, during this time period, parents did not step up to the plate. Instead, they were trying to repair what was going on at home. And that's what I'm saying. I get on a personal level. And I totally respect that. But at the same time, they were not teaching their children to respect their teachers, their work ethic. And because we were so misguided in that direction, we forgot that part. And now kids are kind of being a little rebellious. Progressively, the years have gone by to us, has with us, you and me. And it doesn't help either, because I think you looked up into a study about classroom sizes.
That classroom size affects behaviors, affects academics. But before I get into that, I kind of want to segue off of what you were piggybacking, rather, off of what you were saying. It's there were a lot of students who learned virtually last year.
Yes.
And the plus side to that was they were still able to learn, whether it was from home or, from somewhere else that they were living because they were displaced. But the one issue, the biggest issue that arose from that is whether we have parental support or anything like that that's coming from their personal household or not. It's the fact that the kids did not have a normal learning environment last year. And I have one student in particular who is a very, very smart individual. However, it was just really unfortunate that because they were one of the virtual learners who stayed home for the entire year, they did not have the independence and the motivation and the self what am I trying to say? Self-motivation, I guess you'd say.
Self-confidence?
No, it's the intrinsic reward of, yes, I did this for myself.
Oh, okay, so you're saying, yeah.
Versus,
yeah,
I
like,
have a teacher on my butt every single day in my face asking me where my homework is,
Right.
And I don't do that. I don't ask every day, where's your homework? It's one of those things where you did your homework or you didn't, it's just how I run, and it's how I've always viewed my classroom as doing that, is having that intrinsic motivation to get things done for yourself rather than for everyone else around you. However, being at home, being that virtual learner, this particular student did not hand in their work and did not pass their tests. So they did not pass the year. And it hurt them because they're repeating. And being in the classroom, having a quote-unquote normal year last year or the year before that, we had 2 years of COVID essentially, because we had one where we got cut off and one where it was completely hybrid for most schools in general, or completely virtual for some of the year. It made it very difficult for even parents who were still working through the pandemic, because they were nurses or they were essential workers, and those that were still working last year after we reopened and everything and schools reopened and the kids were still at home, they did not still provide that support that the teachers could have provided in school physically.
And again, as I said, I don't blame the parents. We're not complaining about parents. We're just saying that in this perspective of parents itself, being us parents as well, we looked out for ourselves personally first before anything.
We understand it completely, because that's the same thing that we were doing as teachers.
So hold on, because like I said, let me go back to my question. Then, like you said, you were doing some research on classroom sizes. Are you saying that do you suggest that we do virtual school then?
I don't think virtual school is the answer. I think pushing teachers out of the classroom is not the answer. And I don't say that because every school has people being pushed out of the classroom. I'm not saying that because, it's a negative environment for everywhere that we are, but there are a lot of toxic environments that are popping up everywhere at this point because everyone is getting burned out. Everyone is kind of just on their last leg, and it's getting to everybody from the staff up through the teachers, up through administration, up through the school board. And everybody is just kind of walking on eggshells, not sure what's going to set one person off versus the other person.
Yeah, exactly. What's going to happen tomorrow?
Exactly.
That's what it was. What's going to happen tomorrow?
Where what did they call it? The Great Resignation.
The Great Resignation.
Teachers were a huge part of that. There are so many teachers that are leaving because of that exact sentiment. They're
Mm-hmm.
burned out. They feel like they have lost support from their administration, or they've lost support from their parents. There's no discipline in the classroom.
So, that's the funniest thing. We're talking. You said it too. The loss of support from administration. Like, what is that? What is? I'm not saying that our boss and our admin did a 180 and abandoned us.
No, I feel like we're part of that lucky crew
I think
where
we're
they
pro-
have
yeah.
stuck with us and they've given us what we need and they continually do.
And exactly. No, I agree with. No, I agree 100%. I agree 110% with you.
It sucks
And
though
it
that
is,
we're part
and,
of that small percentage.
and I think that the expectation of what some of the staff are asking, I think is okay. So, for example, I hate bringing this up, but I want to bring it up anyways. Like, we're talking about discipline in my grade level, disciplining, and some of the disciplinary actions that we do that we request from administration to provide is not there. We need to take it into our own hand. What do you believe that is constituted as admin abandoning us, or do you believe that admin? How do you take that? If we're issuing a student a disciplinary action right now, and we're requested that the administration to provide a disciplinary form, is that wrong that they did not do anything?
But I think where that comes in is the difference of perspective when it comes to what is an appropriate consequence.
Because I see what you're saying, and the reason why I bring this up is because, like, the other day you and I were sitting down for dinner. We're talking about your grade level specifically, and I said, you know what? Then we need to provide a consequence, and that was like what, lunch detention. I think that's what it was, lunch detention, and copying from a dictionary or a book of poems until they learn it, and then regurgitate it to us so they can be relieved from the consequence. And I think it's very effective. I think the kids, based on just a quick survey right now, about 3 weeks at least we've done this. How has that turned? Has the same students created the same offense? Has the dynamic changed?
As there is with any group of individuals, not necessarily students alone, I mean, even coming down to adults, when you take a select population, there will always be, no matter what the consequence is, repeat offenders.
Well, no, I agree with you. No, I'm asking.
However,
But answer the question though. Has it value?
well, that being said,
Okay.
the funniest part is I've heard several people say throughout the last, 2-3 weeks that we've been doing this, it's, wow, you're not on the lunch detention list? And they don't say it in a negative, sarcastic way. It's, wow, really, you've earned your, as it will be called, the social lunch, where you're able to have that social aspect of lunch rather than being given that negative consequence, And I'm not 100% sure that it has fully changed or amended the situation in a big impact, but I think it's gotten to the point where certain students have realized, crap, I shouldn't have done that. Now they're starting to second guess their decisions. Now they're starting to think twice before doing something.
There's the taste. They have
Right,
taste.
and
They
now
have taste
because
of
they're
what.
like, oh, well, if I do this without getting permission, like leaving the room without permission, I'm
Right.
going to get in big trouble. And I don't want that because my parents find out about it before I even get home, and so.
And like I said, I think that was great. I think what we came up was pretty good. I think just being teachers. I think
The adults love it. Because it's not an over the top
it's always
consequence,
but there's a learning
it also
value.
creates that discipline of
But there's a learning, but there's a discipline with a learning value at the end.
from your from your consequence, they're learning about poems that have a moral to
Philosophy, a
them,
moral to
right?
them.
And from my consequence, they're learning vocabulary, which is one of the things that they struggle with, regardless.
Regardless, anyways. So like I said, I think our discipline. I think what we created was pretty good. I think so far it's been pretty good. But going back to what administration in our side of the department is that the level of severity of offenses that are done by our students are not being punished by our administration, and because the administration is kind of being more passive about it, is it wrong for them? Are they have they abandoned ship with my grade level? And I'm gonna answer this question. Okay.
Well,
And
before you say that, is there a difference between abandonment, sink or swim, and trial by fire?
I think this. Here's the thing. This is why I wanted to say this first before you had asked me this one. I really think that admin is doing their part, but the thing is, they're not. I don't know how to put this in right ways. The children has lost the vision of opportunity. They have lost the vision of, if I do this, I'm just gonna get reamed. So I know I might as well punch the kid in the face because I know what consequences are gonna.
And it doesn't matter. It's like a spanking.
Exactly.
I already know I'm gonna get
I'm gonna
spanked.
spank
I don't mind it.
right.
It doesn't hurt anymore.
And I think on my side of my team, I don't know if they see that yet. The kids already know they're gonna get yelled at, screamed at, or maybe or punished because they don't do the homework. So that's why they said, "I'm going to do it."
Why bother?
Why bother? I know I'm just gonna get yelled at anyhow. I know the consequences are. I know what to expect. So do it. But with me, and I'm not trying to be a douche. I'm not trying to be like I'm off the different page of my team. Okay, and I know my team has somewhat behind the scenes have mentioned this, that I'm not on the same page with them, especially on discipline. I don't know, maybe I'm young or what it is, or I just.
Well, you are the youngest on your team.
I am the
you
youngest on my
see
team.
A difference in perspective. Again, it always comes down to, for me,
But is
the
it?
perspective.
But again, I know. But even my age, a number's a number. But how I am more and more older, immature in some ways. It would be some age. But is it because of my philosophy? I don't know. But in the end, when a kid does something wrong to me, to them, when they do something wrong to me, it's like I'm an enigma. They don't know what to expect. They know he's about to be upset.
But how upset?
But how upset is he gonna be?
What way?
In what way? See, and that I believe is respect. It's not respect of fear. That's respect because you don't want to upset the person that you care for. You see what I'm saying? And I was reading about this. I was reading about this in an article about the 85% or the 80% motivation. I don't know if you want to try this or not, but the 80% and 85% motivation teaches us that you give 80 to 85% or something of a morale boost. You teach them 80 85%. And she'll leave them hungry for the night, for the last 10. You see what I'm saying? That's why this is what bugs me, because some people come to me and they're like, your kids are playing. You see my classroom. You walk in my classroom.
Your classroom is a very lively, bustling, there's also synonyms for it, where you have the epitome of what it is to have teaching be alive in the classroom versus just sitting there and I'm very
You're lecture
guilty
based.
of it.
You're very
lecture
lecture
based. I am very guilty of being kind of cut and dry. These are the notes. You have to learn it before we can do a project kind of thing. I don't do a lot of.
Well, that's not different from what I'm doing though. I do the exact same thing.
Right, but you have a more hands-on experience throughout the lesson rather than at the end showing me how you can apply it. Do you see what I'm saying?
No. My lessons, my notes are just as yours. I still provide the exact same PowerPoint notes, similar to what you. I mean, yours is number based. Mine is just literature
Right, math versus
interpretation,
ELA.
ELA, so it's a little different. But mine is not different in aspect of dry and cut notes. But they know it though. They know. Okay, we're gonna do notes. They know that, and that's the 80. And that's what I'm saying. That's the 80%. And then they want to do more. They want to motivate. They want not to sit there, but they want to have fun. And how do they have fun?
Right, which
They
is where your projects.
and that's what it's not just the projects. They want to make sure that I am happy in some way, in some form. Their form of respect comes out as how do we make this guy happy? What? Go ahead. You ask those kids. Ask them. And if you're listening to me, you're my listener right now, my audience. If you ever meet my students, ask them. What are you trying to impress your teacher? Are you trying to impress them? Is it easy to impress them? Do you have fun trying to impress them? What is it that you cannot do that not impress them? Is it a style? Is it unique? And that's what I'm trying to say. If you give out the full 100% of you, then there's nothing else to read. If you give only 80% of you, now they're hungry. They want to know the full 100%. But you never give that 100%. And that's what I strongly believe. And that's what the studies and research shows. That if you do that, the productivity goes up 100%. People will work harder. People will do more work to achieve a goal. And I think, and I say it about our school too. I think that in a few years, our boss and without the craziness of everything, he was doing it. I think without even realizing it, he was doing the 80%. You do your job. I'll let you do your job. 80%, right? And 20% he'll kind of step in and come in and laugh. And I think that's what I said before. I told him before. I said, "Hey man, I miss you having my classroom sometimes. It's nice to have your a friendly face come in. Because if my day and my week has been 90%, the numbers 95 to 99% of just my face in one room, I can't have a buddy. It's stale. Yeah. I mean, the kids already enjoy it. So for some reason, I've created an engaging ELA room or whatever, and even a math room you can make it engaging itself. You know what I mean? And I think that is something I think we as teachers need to go back and look at that kind of the 80% rule, or kind of study it, see how it works. I think that we need to go back and we can go back to the past. I think that's just.
But that thing that Rafiki said, the past can hurt.
So the past can hurt, but you can.
But you either learn from it or run from it.
That's it. Yeah, I love that quote. I think it's perfect. I think that is a perfect quote to wrap up tonight's thoughts.
How can we learn from what has happened even just taking the last 2 years from the pandemic? Because I mean, we're never going back to normal learning at this point.
There's no normalcy.
It keeps getting worse.
We need to evolve.
New variants, and we need to figure out how to evolve with it.
Honestly, respectfully, and as teachers after this situation, after COVID situation, I think that was the problem. How do we now adopt this unruly attitude in our classroom? And it's unfortunate our classrooms may be too large. And you said you said some research in itself, and it says that some rooms of large size is unsuccessful.
Negative behavior correlates to higher classroom size, and lower academics correlates to higher classroom size. Not always, obviously, there's
No, of
exceptions
course,
to that research, but I
right,
mean,
right.
there's a lot of research that points towards the fact that anything above 18 kids is detrimental to their learning, no matter how good they are.
And so, and I say that, like I said that tonight as we close, and that's one thing that we look into. And what are solutions now? I mean, if we can't add a new room, not a new, we don't want to hire a new teacher. Obviously, we want to maintain what we have, but what can we do to make not just the students successful, but the year successful, and then bearable in some way, in some form? Like, how do we carry that? And like you said, Rafiki said, the past can hurt. Either learn or rerun. And that's why I believe that this year with my philosophy, where I'm more about the caring and teaching them, the kids, of being not human, but being.
Well, I think that's what they need. They need to see somebody who is human, because all they've had to experience is people who need to be successful and not make a mistake, because any trip along the way or any fall that you make essentially destroys everything that you've built. And they need to realize that you can trip and you can fall and you can get your butt dragged through the mud, but you still have to understand that there is a way to rise from that.
Yeah, and so I would do want to wrap this up. I'm sorry, I don't want to keep you guys on this one, but the last thing I do want to say, and this was the last thing we talked with our interviewer. I mentioned this analogy, and we'll talk more about it next time. Should we let kids retake their exams? Should we let students retake?
That's something I really fight with myself.
Because I don't know if you were there in the interview. I said, testing, classroom testing should be like the basics of kind of like what's going to happen in the future. If a kid fails his driving test, he's not omitted for the rest of his life from going from his driving license again.
Right.
He can still take it again. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why punish them in the classroom and make believe this world that a test is a test, and if you fail, you fail. There's no other opportunity. If the kids are, I get FSA or any state exam, pretty much is a definition of is the definition of kind of like the school's progress in a way. I get that, but I think we as a school have to remember those are reflections of our students, in their mentality. If they're not mentally ready, or whatever, you can't punish them. You can't punish the teacher.
No.
And I don't know. I don't know if we're still even doing it. I think the Holy is dead, where we judge teachers based on their scores. I mean, we can't do that. It's not fair at all.
A lot of students have a lot of testing anxiety now. I mean, it's been a prevalent thing regardless of COVID and state testing being so demanded upon. But and again, I don't want to drag this out too long, but I don't know. It's giving the kids, and again, I fight with this personally with myself about giving them that second chance on exams, because it's not that it's an end-all be-all, of course, because I mean, if you fail a test, I showed them in their grade book too, that even if you get a 50 or a 30 or a 20 on my tests, it's cushioned enough with the other stuff that you'll go from maybe a high B to a middle B or something like that. It's not crazy, but we just need to be able to create a safe environment for the students to flourish. That's kind of always been the ideology all along.
It will always be the model of what we're doing. I don't disagree with you at all, Kristen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on this episode of our educational rant. I mean, I hope it wasn't too jumpy
Or too negative
or too
sounding.
negative sounding. But hopefully you were able to follow
That was not our
through.
intention.
No. I hope you guys were able to follow through. And hopefully our next episode will be a little more chippier instead. It will be more personal in the next
You know
one.
what it was? It was Devil's Advocate. That's why. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever time you're listening to this to. This is What the Bow. I'm your host, Richard.
And Kristen.
You guys have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.